All right. Join the Journey family, friends, and guests. You're listening to Join the Journey podcast with your host, Emma Daughter.
Thanks for joining. Today, we are reading Psalms 74 through 78, and I am in the podcast studio with an old friend, Watermark worship team member. He was here 2 years ago or something like that, and he's back. It's Sam Garner.
What's up?
Sam, it's so good to have you back.
It's good to be here.
Hey, for those who don't know you or didn't listen to your first episode, which we will link in the episode description if they want to hear more from you or more of your story, would you share a little bit about what God's done in your life and what you're up to today?
I grew up in the church. I actually grew up Church of Christ, so a wilder experience than what we do here at Watermark. No instruments in the church.
Yeah, which is interesting considering your profession.
Yeah, I never played in church piano until I was 19.
Yeah.
Anyways, grew up Church of Christ, and then, I had a very kind of typical, I think, falling away from the faith in college, alcohol and girls and whatever it was. Moved to Miami for 2 years. It was a lot worse out there because
it's Miami.
There's a lot to offer. And then, 2015, I moved back to Dallas, and the Lord, I just felt him tugging at me to, get serious again. And so Watermark is actually the first church I visited in 2015. Sat behind the soundboard, just in the back by myself. And I was like, this place is awesome.
Cool.
And then early 2016, kind of got plugged in with the worship team, and I've been a part of the worship team since 2016, 2017-ish.
Wow. And at that point, what were you doing professionally?
At that time, I was in real estate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did real estate for 3 years. I got super burnt out on music in college because both of my degrees are in music. And then did real estate for a few years. Then I went and taught at a private Christian school up in Frisco for 4 years. And then 2 years ago, I quit that, and now I do music full-time.
Full-time.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think I remember seeing videos of the school music classroom or auditorium or something like that.
I think at one point I maybe even talked to you about coming and speaking at something.
Yeah.
I remember they wanted a girl to come and speak, and I was like, dude, I know this girl.
Yeah.
Her name's Emma.
That's amazing.
She's good at the speaking thing.
Thanks, Sam. I like it. And now listeners who go to Watermark, which hopefully is most of our listeners. I don't actually know. There's no way to know. But they're out there listening to this podcast. They've probably seen you more Sundays than they realize because you're most commonly found.
Yeah, I serve on Sunday mornings a lot, just playing on the worship team, playing keys, playing piano, play at the porch a lot.
You've got a big beard.
Got a big beard.
You're very recognizable.
Big beard, no hair on my head. But I'm always wearing a hat, so you don't really know.
Yeah, that's true. I couldn't tell right now, actually.
Unless Alex wants me to take the hat off.
Does he?
No. There's been a few
They
times.
don't allow hats on stage?
For Good Friday, I tried to wear an F1 hat, and I took it off.
Oh, Good Friday, that is.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying,
Yeah, you liked the hat.
It does happen.
Yeah, it's all right. Well, we got to talk about Psalm 74 through 78. We're going to be focusing on Psalm 74. But Sam, we gave you a fun prompt. You can introduce it now or do a little setup. I'm gonna let you lead us.
Yeah, Psalm 74, the good old Leviathan. Actually, not good.
The good old
yeah, not a
Leviathan.
good thing, but the Leviathan. So just Psalm 74, most people say it was Asaph. Most people say it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar destroying.
I'm sorry.
What are you laughing at?
I'm still laughing at good old Leviathan.
No, that's God's sovereign, it existed.
Keep going.
Anyways, before you rudely interrupt me.
Yeah.
Psalm 74, most likely written by Asaph, most likely talking about Nebuchadnezzar destroying the temple of Jerusalem. So 74, the psalmist is, the first part of it is expressing, grief and despair about the desecration of the temple, laments the suffering of his people, and he's asking God, how long is this going to continue? He asks God to remember, his people and his promises. He asks him to intervene. He goes on to talk about, what has happened to the temple from Nebuchadnezzar. They set your sanctuary on fire. They burned all the meeting places of God in the land. But yeah, verse 1, why do you cast us off forever? Why does your anger smoke against the sheep of your pasture? Remember your congregation.
They burned all the meeting places.
They burned all the meeting places. They took down, they put up their own signs. There's no longer any prophet. There's none among us who knows how long this is going to last. And then he kind of shifts, verse 11, verse 12. I love this verse. Why do you hold back your hand, your right hand? Take it from the fold of your garment and destroy them. I love that. That's just awesome to me. But verse 12, he then starts not reminding God, but talking about the power that God has, working salvation in the midst of the earth. You divided the sea by your might. You broke the heads of the sea monsters. You crushed the heads of Leviathan. You gave him as food for the creatures of the wilderness. You dried up overflowing streams. You fixed all the boundaries that you made, summer and winter. He's just pleading for God to intervene and then talking about and praying about all the might that God has. And so the question is, what is the Leviathan, this sea monster?
Yes, I've got a Leviathan story.
Oh, okay.
You're going to love this.
Yes.
I'm 24. Maybe I was 23. I'm in the Watermark Institute. It's like 2019. Nathan Wagnon comes to teach us. And I'd gone through this like Christian apologetics class at a church I was at in college. And he asked the class, like, does anyone know what they think about Leviathan? Like, who is Leviathan? What is Leviathan? I raised my hand so confidently. And I'm like, doesn't it have something to do with dinosaurs?
Yeah, dude.
Nathan looks at me with like the most disgusted look on his face. He's like, that is the most foolish thing I've ever heard. And the whole class busted out laughing at me. And I had been taught as a fact. I'd been taught this as a fact. Leviathan equals dinosaur. It must. And I was like formed to think that is the only answer. It is an answer. But
It is an answer, and if you Google what it is, you get 8 answers.
Yeah, yeah.
Alligator, crocodile, whale, shark,
yeah.
dinosaur, which is a fun one,
I mean, I thought dinosaurs were in the Bible. Maybe.
God, who knows?
What'd you learn?
Tier 15 issue, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Leviathan, what is the Leviathan? Psalm 74 doesn't
say.
really describe what it is, but other places in the Bible talk more about it. But the Leviathan is referred to in the Bible. It's a mighty creature. It's no match for God, but humans can't touch it. They can't tame it. They can't kill it. Isaiah 27:1, the twisting serpent. The best description of the Leviathan comes out of Job 41. There's all these rhetorical questions that God is asking, can you draw Leviathan out with a fish hook? Can you put a rope in his nose? Can you play with him as a bird? Will traders bargain over him? Can you fill his skin with harpoons? Basically asking all these redundant questions of like, you can't do any of these things. And then in verse 8 of Job 41, lay your hands on him, remember the battle, you will not do it again. Behold, the hope of a man is false. He is laid low even at the sight of him. And then verse 10, so, hey, Sam, what is a Leviathan? I think the Leviathan is Job 41, verse 10. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? And so the Leviathan, to me at least, forget what creature it specifically is. Mm-hmm. It is a reminder that here's this creature that, in Psalm 104, it talks about God created the Leviathan, created the sea for the Leviathan to play in. So here's this creature that humans can't touch, kill, tame. You can't even handle the Leviathan. Who are you to contend with me, God? So I think it's just a reminder of God as the sovereign ruler over all things.
Yeah.
The Leviathan representing evil and chaos, but that's under God's control.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we have to wait patiently for God to move. And, I don't want to make this you're not David type of thing, but like whatever the Leviathan is in your life, it's like we just have to wait patiently for God.
Yeah. Well, and it's a reminder, like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these options. At the end of the day, the point is God is in control over it, as he's in control of all things. Another, like, a bonus, if you're listening to this and the talk of Leviathan is, like, getting you curious or interested, there was a school of thought in the ancient Near East. Ancient Near East, just think like Old Testament Bible times. Not God's people, but secular people, where there was this Babylonian myth. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's spelled like Tiamat, Tiamat, I think. And there's this little g god, Marduk, who fights this chaos creature. And some people think Leviathan could be a reference to this ancient Near Eastern religious system, where in their religious system, Leviathan was like the bad guy. That's a really simplified way of saying it. But
equally as fun as dinosaurs.
Yeah, I should have raised my hand and said that in the class.
Dude, totally. I wrote down one quote. It's one of my favorite quotes, but I think it, to like what we're talking about, it's a John Piper quote, which is, God is always doing 10,000 things in your life, and you may be aware of 3 of them. And I think that summed up with the concept of the Leviathan and God as the sovereign ruler of all things. It's just, we never quite know how he's working. Even in the context of 74, it's like, dude, why have you let this happen? And even in those moments, we just don't know.
We don't know. But we can trust a Spurgeon quote, when you can't trace his hand, you can trust his heart. And we don't know, but we know that he's good.
Yeah.
Even when life doesn't feel good. He is. All right, Sam, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing faithfully. We'll have to have you back sooner than 2 years. We can't wait 2 more years.
Let's do it.
Maybe
just give me a fun topic. Give me an easier topic next time.
An easier topic, sure. And maybe a Sam Allison combo, husband-wife.
Yeah, dude.
That'd be fun.
Let's bring my wife on here.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that idea.
Well, that's all we've got time for. So as always, I'm so glad we're all on this journey reading the Bible together.
The Join the Journey podcast is produced by Watermark Community Church in Dallas, Texas. But did you know Join the Journey isn't just a podcast? It's also a Bible reading plan with daily devos and much more. Check it out by visiting jointhejourney.com.